Hello everybody. So this is something that's been bothering me for some time now, and I wanted to tackle it on a greater scale. I think I speak for everyone when I say that the entire community was shocked when the newly revived Madara revealed that he possessed the Rinnegan, and that he was the one that originally awakened it, and that the Rinnegan was the evolution of the Sharingan, rather than being a separate dojutsu, as we initially thought. So in today's video, I'll be going over the timeline over which the Rinnegan was introduced and tackling the subject of whether it was retconned or not. Before we begin, I got a quick preview to show you guys. I'm planning on releasing this as a special for once the channel gets to 1K subscribers, so make sure you subscribe. And share this with any of your friends. The Rinnegan, or the Samsara Eye, stated to be the greatest out of the three visual jutsu, the other two being the Byakugan and the Sharingan. Now, unlike how the Byakugan was exclusive to the Hyuga clan and the Sharingan was exclusive to the Uchiha clan, the Rinnegan wasn't exclusive to any clan. Matter of fact, most people thought that the Rinnegan was a myth, a divine ocular jutsu. The Rinnegan was a legend associated with the mythical figure, the Sage of the Six Paths, the father of ninjutsu, or ninshu, the ninja creed. It was the sage's eyes. It was believed that the Rinnegan manifests every once in a millennia when the world becomes corrupt, and the sage would reincarnate into either a godlike force of creation or an all-obliterating instrument of destruction. And by that point in the story, as far as we were aware, the only two that had developed that eye were this mythical Sage of the Six Paths figure and a brat from the Hidden Rain, Nagato. And that's kind of it. No additional knowledge was given about the Rinnegan. Even Nagato himself had no idea how he got his eyes. Just that he was told by both Jiraiya and this masked stranger that he was the second coming of the Sage of the Six Paths. So while this statement, most noble of the three great ocular jutsu, could imply that the three are distinct, the truth is that our knowledge of the Rinnegan at this point is too vague to make any conclusions. All that we knew is that the Rinnegan was an ocular jutsu unique to the Sage, and that it was extremely rare to witness. It's not until Toby makes a visit to the Hidden Rain that the connection between the Sharingan and the Rinnegan and the Sage of the Six Paths starts being drawn out. First off, he tells Conan that it was him, Madara, that gave Nagato the Rinnegan, and also the debut of a certain jutsu, the Izanagi, derived from the sage's creation of all things technique, a jutsu that can be used to create form out of nothing and breathe life into it, which is what Madara presumably used to create Black Zetsu, though that's a retcon for a different video. An ability exclusive to the Sharingan that was originally used by the sage. Although it is not directly stated, we can concur that there must be a connection between the Sharingan and the Rinnegan, since the Rinnegan was the sage's eye, and the Sharingan uses an ability derived from it. This scene is also the first time we get a glimpse to the sage's eyes, which was probably overlooked by many fans. But you can clearly see a Tomoe'd Rinnegan when Toby talks about the sage, similar to the one that Sasuke would awaken in the 4th Ninja War, another ocular jutsu that has Tomoe's. And I believe that was Kishimoto's earliest hint to the link between the Sharingan and the Rinnegan. This recurring theme keeps getting reiterated. It's the two opposites coming together that give rise to all things. We would eventually learn that these two opposites are the sage's sons, Indra and Ashura, or their descendants, the Uchiha and the Senju, and them coming together is supposed to symbolize the sage himself. It was stated that the elder brother inherited the sage's eyes, and the younger brother inherited the sage's body. Hence, when you mix them together, you get the Six Paths chakra, which is why it was initially stated that one must possess both Senju and Uchiha DNA to perform the Izanagi, which is a six-path jutsu. Though that would be eventually retconned when Madara uses Izanagi prior to implanting Hashirama's DNA into his body. We finally get the moment of revival, and Madara confirms a hypothesis theorized by Orochimaru and confirmed by Kabuto, that the Rinnegan manifests by evolving the Sharingan by implanting Senju or Ashura DNA into an Uchiha in order to recreate the sage's chakra, though it seems it takes a very long time to manifest. Now it's hard to tell whether mixing regular Uchiha and Senju DNA is enough to awaken the Rinnegan, or whether it has to be Ashura and Indra's chakra. I mean, Obito had Senju DNA and never awakened it, but yet again, it took Madara pretty much his entire life. He had to stay in that cave for decades to awaken the Rinnegan. Matter of fact, Madara himself implies that Obito could potentially awaken the Rinnegan, with the only problem being how long it takes to actually manifest. So it's possible that implanting Senju DNA into an Uchiha is enough to evolve that Uchiha's Sharingan into a Rinnegan. But the problem would be how long it takes for the Rinnegan to develop. I mean, if it took Madara that long, imagine how long it'd take an average run-of-the-mill Uchiha. The Rinnegan also has some abnormal traits. For example, even though Madara used the Izanagi with one of his eyes, once he awakened the Rinnegan, the Sharingan that had lost its light was able to transcend past that and evolve into a Rinnegan. It's also worth mentioning that even though the user perishes after using the Rinne Rebirth Jutsu, the Rinnegan itself remains undamaged, and unlike all of Obito's multiple Sharingan that had to be securely stored in his lab in order to be maintained, the Rinnegan was preserved by remaining in Nagato's corpse. This is probably attributed to how divine the Rinnegan is as an ocular jutsu. It's the same eye that can revive people from the dead after all. It was no mundane ability. The only people to awaken it were the Sage of the Six Paths, Madara Uchiha, and Sasuke. Now Sasuke is a special case, as not only did he receive a medically enhanced form of Hashirama's cells, but he was visited by the sage himself, which is probably why he developed a Tomoe Rinnegan. The reason Kabuto entered an alliance with Obito in the first place was because he wanted Sasuke as a retribution prize to experiment on his body. He probably had a more mastered approach of implanting Hashirama cells than Madara's primitive method. Add on top of that the sage himself visiting Sasuke and giving him the yin half of his chakra is probably why Sasuke developed his Rinnegan much faster than Madara and why his had Tomoes, just like Hagoromo. Going over the question posed in the beginning of the video, was the Rinnegan retconned? Well, maybe if you consider the statement by Jiraiya about the 3-grade dojutsu to indicate that they were all distinct ocular jutsu, then sure, it may have been retconned. But in my opinion, at that point, too little was known about the Rinnegan to draw any concrete conclusions. Even the one person that possessed the Rinnegan, Nagato, had no idea where he got it from. I also think that the lines between the Sharingan and the Rinnegan were slowly drawn out as the story progressed. They were both connected to the Sage of the Six Paths somehow, and we got a preview of a Tomoe Rinnegan well before Madara's revival. Even Konan knew that possessing both Uchiha and Senju powers was Six Paths power, with the only real inconsistency being maybe the timeline as to when Madara gave his eyes to Nagato, since Nagato was a child during the Second Great Ninja War. So that would mean that Madara stayed in the cave for like a whole war period before he found Obito. But other than that, everything else lines up pretty well. And this is the end of today's video. Make sure you drop a like, comment, subscribe, and keep your eyes tuned for that new video. Peace.